Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Marcia again. Marcia O'Connor. I am CEO and founder of the O'Connor Group. O'Connor Group, obviously, I think you know by now, but we do outsourced HR and outsourced recruiting. We work with small and mid-sized companies, and we've been around for about 16 and a half years. As you know, I love bringing on warm, friendly guests who have a lot of energy, like myself. And so today, I'm so excited to have Renee, Rhinehart. And Renee basically is amazing because she has a great company called Party Host Helpers. I remember talking to her at the Davio's bar one time about her whole plans and where she wanted to go. And then one day she's like, "Hey, I think I'm ready. This is happening. We're going to be joining EO." And all of you listeners out there already know what EO is, Entrepreneurs Organization. But so with that, we're going to tell her story today and hear how dynamic she is and how I even use Party Host Helpers as much as possible because they have basically saved my back and my legs many times. So with that, further ado, Renee, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marcia. Thanks for having me. It's so fun.
Oh my God, so much fun. And Party Host Helpers, obviously you didn't start that way. I had heard the story the other week. But I think it's a great story to share because obviously our entrepreneurs out there want to hear how people get started. It's usually not exactly a one-way direction. So walk us back about, 15, 20 years about how you got started.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I always wanted to be a wedding and event planner. So even my high school friends will say, "We remember in high school, you always said you were going to be a wedding planner one day." And back then it wasn't, I mean, it was a thing, but you had to have some really rich clients if you were going to be a wedding planner or celebrity clients. It wasn't as easily attainable back in the 90s. So I went to college. I was a PR and marketing major, and that led me to some event planning too. But I started Events by Renee in 2015. I'm sorry, in 2007.
No.
And then, so that's how long I've had Events by Renee, but I still had a lot of different jobs that were putting money in my pocket and food on the table. And then in 2013, I thought, gosh, okay, my event planning company is taking off. This is great. I've worked so hard to network and get to where I am, but I don't really want to work a wedding every weekend of my life. I want to eventually settle down, or I want to have free time. And to really make money, you have to work a lot of weekends in the event world. So I started Party Host Helpers mainly because my clients were coming back to me saying, "Renee, you planned this huge wedding for my daughter, but we're having, a dinner party and we need a bartender. Do you know anyone?" And I've always been naturally well connected. And I thought this might be something. There are some competitors in the area where we started, but I think having my event planning background, and I knew how to run a business already. So it came really easy when I started Party Host Helpers. I thought it would just be a side hustle to the first business. I thought it would just supplement my income a little bit. And I was totally wrong. It took off like wildfire. And we started booking jobs in other cities across the country. And I just didn't say no. If a client came to me and said they wanted help in a place that was obscure, I said, sure. And then I figured it out.
And you know what? Not everybody can do that so fast as you did and move it forward and obviously start one company, start another company and realize like, wait a minute, this might be moving even faster than the other company. What was that light bulb that went on and said, hey, maybe I should spend more time on this instead?
It was realizing that there was such a need for a company like this and that it was really sticking with clientele. I thought we would just be residential, and
Hmm.
then caterers started hiring us. Michelle
Mm.
Leff was one of my first catering clients, and I never even dreamt about that, helping caterers.
Oh, awesome.
And then corporate clients started hiring us. Like Penn is one of our big clients. We're there all the time. Universities, corporate, you're having a corporate meeting and you need registration help, or you need 30 people to scan badges at an expo in Las Vegas. So the opportunities started to present themselves to me geographically and the type of event. And I just wanted to continue growing and diving right in.
And how do you do, obviously right now it's, the year 2024 and people are like, I can't find people. I can't find people. But every time we ask, for help from you, you find people and you do it. How do you currently find people and do recruiting? Because you're going to different states and all. And it's the gig economy, right? And trying to figure out the time and make sure they're reliable. How do you guys do that so well?
I always say it's what we do. Just like it's what you do. You find good people too. It's obviously different, but we use Indeed a lot, friends of friends. We have a platform where we interview, we do background checks. It's really we only like to hire people that have hospitality experience. So there's
Mm,
no training. It's people who've been in the industry. And because we're gig workers, excuse me, we're having people work who might be a full-time teacher and just want
mhm.
some extra money on the weekends. They used to bartend in college and they miss it. Um, Moms who want to stay home with their kids, but then pick
Right.
a few shifts a month to make a few extra bucks. Event planners who need a little extra money once in a while. Or there's people who really string jobs like this together. They might work for a caterer 3 days a week and then they work for us on the weekend. So with this gig economy, people like to make their own schedule, and with Party Host Helpers, you can. So and then, our regional directors are really good at hiring, and, we see their resumes, we see photos,
Hmm.
the best is when other helpers refer though, because it's their word that we trust, especially if they're a great helper.
Absolutely. So obviously this show is all about successes and failures. Entrepreneurs are all going through their different challenges, different journeys and all too, but let's talk about some of those failures. You don't get to where you're at today without a few of them in your hand. Could you explain maybe one and what it was and what happened?
A funny one is that when I started the company, I bought the domain partyhosthelper.com instead of partyhosthelpers.com. And I don't remember why. I don't know if it wasn't available or I just wasn't thinking and I did it too
Right.
quickly. So I think initially people got our website confused. Um, and I eventually ended up buying Party Host Helpers recently, which is still causing a little chaos because some of my team's emails are helpers, some are helper,
Oh,
but
wow.
that's just a testament to me being haphazard in the beginning and excited and, moving too quickly.
Yeah, you gotta go fast and you don't realize is it .com, .net,
I know.
.org,
I know.
and all these things after the fact that we realize it. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're so excited about your product or your service that you don't realize all the little pieces that are put in play. And you're like, oh, why didn't someone tell me that sooner? That would
Yeah,
have been so much more helpful,
exactly.
to get it going. But you're very involved in a lot of things. You're a NABO, you're an EO, you do all these things. You have a small little beautiful girl and you're pretty recently married, actually. You're still a honeymooner, by the way. Um, how do you do all that? Like, how did you all come together? Because that's a lot to do.
It is a lot. And I look around at other women that I'm in these groups with, and I'm like, how the heck do they do it? This year is, I think, going to be a year for me of figuring out what I want to stick with
Wow.
after giving it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And also just kind of diversifying what I'm doing because certain things might not be working. For
Yep.
me, we're a national company, so I'm trying to
Yep.
make connections nationally, not just in my backyard. And Nabo and EO has definitely given me that platform, which is great. Um, I'm also trying to just kind of, I'm a sucker for like a good conference, but they haven't really served me that well in the last like year and a half. And sometimes I'd rather, if I'm going to travel, have it be personal or maybe more strategic and intimate.
Yeah.
Instead of taking my rep who lives in Chicago to a conference, maybe I go to Chicago and we do a dinner for 10 of her top clients.
Yeah.
Things like that. That's sort of how I'm swerving this year.
Mm-hmm.
We're only 9 days in though, so
No, I'm with you. I don't know if conferences are really always worth it. I think I like my EO Nerve. Nerve is my favorite, but
Mhm.
I don't really go to the other ones anymore. I don't really need to. I feel like the dinners and having private conversations with your clients, they really miss seeing you in person now. I
Yeah.
would say 2 years ago it was like I won't go on Zoom, but now everybody's willing to go back together and meet in person. So that's helped out an awful lot. What do you think? As obviously you're a member of EO as well, and you've learned from EOA to EO. What's the biggest lesson you've learned by being a part of EO?
I think for me, it was like, it's been great to put my pride aside. And, I wanted to join EO because I was sick of being the most successful person in the room. Not to toot my own horn, but a lot of the women's groups I was in, I felt like I was teaching them a lot. Where with EO, I had to strip, my pride away.
Hmm.
And it's not, I'm not a prideful person, but to be able to just listen and see and watch how some of our members run their lives, run their businesses, hear how they manage their schedule, or what they do if they want to hire a great salesperson, or just even seeing how people talk in the WhatsApp about things that they're working on, or things I hear in forum.
Yeah.
So for that, I think it's been huge, surrounding myself with people who are next level. And I
Yep.
think that I can see an increase in my confidence as a business leader, in my strategic planning. I just feel like I'm growing more into who I am after joining you, or who I should be, who I want to be.
Yeah. It's hard, I think. I think it's entrepreneurship can be very lonely.
Mhm.
You definitely need to have avenues around you that make it feel like you're not alone. And you can have those conversations about payroll and employee issues. And sometimes you just, you can't talk about your staff because it's about your staff. And you have to have those resources around you for sure. What do you think if you are talking to an entrepreneur that is building their business right now and they're growing? And this year's a tough year. 2024, I think, is still going to be a tough year. I think we have this year to go, and then next year is going to go back up again. But, what do you think the top three things an entrepreneur needs to have in regards to basically, building their business right now in this economy?
Grit,
Yep, true.
organization, and not just organization in your organization, but you personally need to be disciplined with the time that you're spending on building the business,
Yeah.
and strategic about goals and put deadlines on them. I think it's really important. Sometimes entrepreneurs were so creative and flighty, and
Hmm.
don't put enough deadlines on things or organization. So, and then I think a really good mentor, or someone that you can talk to along the way, someone who's in your industry maybe that you look at and see what they're doing, or someone who has built a business before. I think it's really important to have someone to be able to run things by.
Yep. I agree. You have to have that, I think, and also be open to have that conversation and also be coached.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times when I hear people like, I got it, I got it, I got it. And I'm like, No, like just open yourself open because you learn one small golden nugget. Literally, I remember going through some conversations with entrepreneurs, and that one little bit of advice, that one little thing changed my whole business.
Not
And I was
funny.
like, oh my gosh, how come you didn't tell me that sooner? I didn't know we could do that. And what do you mean we don't have to do this? We don't have to do that. Like, no one told me that. You live
Yeah,
and learn throughout this whole process. So it is interesting. But you're also involved with NABO and EO, but NAVO is all women, National
it
Association of Women
is.
Business Owners and all. How is that different than EO?
So there's no threshold of income,
Mm, got it.
which for me, because my businesses are consumer facing, is
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
But I also joined the Circle, it's called, I think,
Hmm.
for NABO members who do 1 million or more in sales.
Oh, great.
I
Okay.
just paid to join that recently, and then there's monthly calls with a cohort of women.
Great.
So I'm giving that a shot to see if I can meet, some great connections in other states,
Yep.
who might be having the same struggles as me. So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
It was fun though. It's a great time. I was at a breakfast this morning. Of course, I'm on the board as the event chair, or event committee. So
Shocker. But that's such an
I'm always
appropriate role
trying
for
to,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's nice to meet some new people.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our name of the game, right? It's what we do and how we do it. But moving into different areas that you're doing, how do you find time? You have a small little one, obviously married, what, 3 years now?
It
Three
was
years?
4 in December.
4 years,
Yeah.
okay. And how do you find time for all this?
I definitely, being a mom, this that role has definitely added obviously a layer of stress and time
Yeah,
management stress to my life. I
sure.
try not to schedule a lot of meetings on Fridays.
Mm,
And I try not to have a sitter on Fridays, or maybe half a day.
mm-hmm,
So I can do something fun with Reese. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but those are my intentions there. Because,
mm-hmm,
there are, in wedding season, I still do a handful of
mm.
weddings a year. My team does a lot of them, but I still personally do a few.
Right.
So if I'm working a Saturday, or maybe I'm, out networking on a Thursday night, I try to make up some of that time on Fridays. I mean, the beauty though about being an entrepreneur, and why I originally wanted to be an entrepreneur 1 million years ago, before I even met my husband or thought I was having kids. I mean, I always wanted to be a mom and a wife. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought being an entrepreneur would be the most flexible way to do that. So And some weeks it is, some weeks it isn't. But
Yeah.
I really try to look at my calendar lately. I try not to overbook myself. I make sure I give myself enough time to get to where I'm going. Um, and then I really try to shut it down at 5, which is difficult. But when I
Mm-hmm.
have a 2-year-old pulling at my leg, when the babysitter leaves or I pick her up from school, I have to make dinner and
Yep.
spend time with her, and then I'm tired when I put her to bed. I always have visions of opening up my laptop at 10 o'clock, or 9 o'clock, but it just doesn't happen. So I'm an early riser sometimes.
Gotcha. Okay.
I went through a period this fall into November where I was really good about working out.
Right.
Um, I'm taking this winter kind of just to be a little easier on myself and do some more gentler things. Like if it's
Yep.
nice out, take a walk. And just curbing my diet a little bit. I found that when I was working out so hard, I was so hungry and my body didn't really
Mm,
change.
gotcha.
Um, so I'm taking the winter to be a little gentler on my body and just trying not to
Yeah.
um stress out that way. So I'm taking the mornings and I'll wake up early, like 6. I'll set my alarm and
Hmm.
I plow through my inbox because those are the times of the day where no one's going to write me back. So I
Yep.
can really organize myself and get through it. I would love, and I've inquired about a VA to maybe help manage my inbox a little bit, just help me keep it a little more organized. But
Yep. Well, there's a lot of
I
people.
don't have the answer. I mean, I feel like every day. It's
Well,
like,
I think having an EA, I think that's one of the jewels of an entrepreneur that I think people wait too long for. I
mhm,
really do think it's one of, if you get a good one, right? I think
yeah.
there's a trust, right? And that fear of
I
like,
have someone great
do you?
who does stuff like what I'm on, because I'm on TV often and it
Yeah.
takes time to prepare what I'm showing.
Yeah.
That really shouldn't be me doing it because it's like I should be doing CEO stuff, right? Not
Yep.
putting their kids' craft to show on Fox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to be whatever, but my time is spent better doing
Oh,
other.
yeah.
So
But,
she's great and she's local, but
oh, good.
I would love someone to tackle my inbox for me.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I was talked to, well, I didn't talk, I heard Gino Wickman, who basically started EOS, and him basically saying 3 months a year he takes off. And the rest of the year he doesn't check any email at all. He literally has somebody else that checks email for him. He goes, I just don't do that. He goes, if you're sitting there as an entrepreneur today, he goes, and you're checking email, you're doing it all wrong. He goes, you have to have and trust your people. He goes, and the fact that you're doing it, you're wasting so much of your own time to build your business.
Mm.
And it was just really insightful. And it's so funny, that was 2 years ago. And by the way, still have not done that and gave up that, control.
Wow.
But I know my goal is to do that down the road because there's so much more I want to do. I just haven't had the ability to do that yet. But and my
I mean,
teams always
what
know
if
that.
they answer it wrong? What if they say the wrong thing?
Well, that's what you learn though. But
Yeah.
I've had VAs before and they are, if you get a good one, they are worth it. They really are. It's just that extra piece of the email, which
Mhm.
is a whole different ballgame, right?
I mean, your
So,
inbox must be crazy, Marcia.
oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's literally insane. And I try to really fix how to do that this year because one of my goals is to have meetings, intentional meetings.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to say no to a lot more things. Not that I don't want to, but I'm trying to be intentional with my time because I was realizing how many hours every night I spend on email. And
Yeah.
when my team's like, how come you're up at 1:05 in the morning? And I'm like, well, I don't want to be, but I want to be respectful and get back to you.
Yeah.
And I realized like right before the holidays, it got so overwhelming that I just stopped. I stopped getting
I
back to
know.
people, period. And people are like, you okay? That's not like you. I'm like, I know. I know it's not, but I have to find a better way. And so I'll do an evening of trash removal, meaning any emails I get that aren't really weird, I'll either put a rule on them to go to something else
Mhm.
or I'm just unsubscribing. And that's really very refreshing. It's like cleaning out your closet. Um, but you have to do that, I think, once in a while because it just gets inundated with so much
I
stuff and
know. And you feel like you have to write back to everyone.
everybody. Yeah. And it's not just that, it's also messages on WhatsApp. And
Hmm.
then there's
I know.
messages on LinkedIn, and
I
there's
know.
messages on texting, and there's
It's
messages
too
on
anything.
Teams. And
I know.
it's almost to the point like, just do me a favor, just everybody, if you really need me, just text me.
I know.
It's the
I
easiest
know.
way to do it.
And
So,
I struggle with the texting thing. I will tell you because if someone texts me something work related, I
yeah.
feel like I have to drop everything and write them back or find the answer or figure it out for them if it's via text.
Mm,
If it's via email, then I
yeah.
feel like I have some time to find the right answer to craft the message back, to be in the right headspace. Um, so I mean, my team is very tech, we text a lot, but sometimes I have to say like, hey guys, can you please send me an email?
Oh,
Just because
interesting.
I might be, I don't know, I might be grocery shopping and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just saw this text and someone wants me to send them this and I need to let me move my cart.
Yeah, you're like, no.
I don't know. Or maybe I just don't need to write back to people right away. I'm not sure. Maybe it's me.
No, I think we're in the professional services. If you're in professional services, if the early bird
Get
gets the
on it.
worm. And if we don't do that, then basically your reputation basically says, they don't get back to you fast enough. And then they look like anybody else. And that's the last thing I ever want about this company is to look like anybody else.
I know.
If we're going to be up there and be looking at that as like the gold, the gold peak, we got to do all the extra stuff to be the gold peak. And
Exactly.
so we'll see
Yeah.
that. What's next for you? I know you. Your brain doesn't stop. So I know you probably have other ideas of what you're going to be doing with Party Host Helpers and Events by Renee.
We just hired 4 new people at the end of 23, going into 24 in
Great.
territories. So
Yeah.
previously we've had people not in the territories they're selling for,
Mm-hmm.
and now my goal is to have people in their territories. They know it the best, they know how to
Yep.
work there. So that's a big one. And then events by Renee, I have a great executive um director who's awesome, Eric, and
Oh, he's great.
yeah, he's great. And we grew a lot this year and I'm excited just to grow more, but
Mm-hmm.
let
Yeah.
him and my team do a lot of the work there. And it's great to still be creative and talk to vendors and still have events by Renee.
Yeah, you're people all over, but how do you motivate them? I'm obviously going to DC on a couple of days or weeks is
Mhm.
coming up, and that's great. But how do you motivate them? Because it's tough when you're not around every single day.
Mhm. We set monthly goals. We set monthly challenges and monthly sales focus. A monthly sales focus. This is something that I've been trying to be more strategic and consistent with.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I tell them, like, listen, do the challenge. Even if you don't win, you're going to get sales out of this. We're setting
Yeah.
you up for success here. So,
Nice. Yeah, that helps a lot. I think
mm,
I think every company's a little bit different. And I think people are always looking for like, what's that one way? I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like I had a chamber event this morning and we talked about, the motivation of an employee. Well, it's like we were all brought up and like the motivation of a 55-year-old employee is very different than a motivation of a 22-year-old.
yeah, yeah,
And you really had to figure out and ask them and have conversations with them and not assume that just because, hey, I'm giving you an extra day off. They're like, yeah, I didn't want that. I really wanted to spend a day of volunteering that you pay for.
mm,
And whereas a 55-year-old's like, you give me a day off, it's better than a bonus for me because I love these days off,
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
really figuring out and catering to all that. And it just, people are like, I just want people to work. I'm like, they are though. Like work is still work. It's
mhm,
just the mentality behind it is really changing. And
mhm,
I think people saw how much it took away from all of us in regards to the hours we put in there. And I just think that they're revolting and saying, I don't want to work like you did. And we did the same thing. My dad would work hours upon hours and weekends, and he was blue collar and he always worked. Anytime he had, time for overtime, he took it.
yeah,
And so I rarely saw my dad during the week. I would see him on the weekends to eat dinner with because he would go to work from 3 to 1
wow,
and from an afternoon in the morning. So I would see him maybe before I come off from school, and he would go to work. And
mhm.
that was years of that. And that's
My
what you
dad also works
did.
shift work, so
Yeah, see, you get it. Yeah.
yep, I'd be coming home from school, he'd be going to work, or I'd be going to school and he'd be coming home.
Yeah. And you couldn't be noisy in the morning because he was quiet and sleeping it was just a different time compared to like today, which is the way it is. But so we'll see what happens. So what do you do in regards to learning? Do you do audibles or do you do books?
You EO people, man, you guys read a lot of business books.
We do. We do. What are you reading right now?
So I like to read fun books on my
Mm-hmm.
Kindle, and then I try to listen to business books
Mm-hmm.
versus reading them. So I was
Hmm.
up till 2 a.m. reading a book last night. I don't know if you've read this. Now I have to pull up to make sure I'm saying the right title. And I read the first one in like 2 days, which is not like me. And then I started the second one last night and I was up literally in bed. And Ted's like, you need to go to bed. So The Housemaid, and then I'm reading The Housemaid's Secret right now.
Really? The housemaid MAID?
Uh-huh. It's a
Ah.
thriller. It's good. And then for Audible right now, I picked back up the 5 a.m. Club, and
Mm.
I just downloaded one that I really want to read. I'm going on vacation next week. Um I want to read Grace Kalia's book about, um, yeah, Elizabeth actually recommended it. Where is it? I just downloaded it in Audible. I thought
Yeah,
maybe
Grace is great. She's a good
she's my
friend.
neighbor.
Oh, she's your
Um,
neighbor? Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Confidence Effect. She's not in my neighborhood. She's in the neighborhood next to me, and my good friend lives there. And she
Oh,
was
that's
telling me about her, and
awesome.
I'm like, wait, we know each other. So
Yeah.
I see her
So small,
socially sometimes.
small world,
The
small world.
Confidence Effect. So,
Okay.
but I
Yep.
also have like Grit in there. I have Atomic Habits, Scaling Up, obviously, Traction. Whenever I go to EO events, I'm always like jotting down books because everyone's always talking about them. So
Oh, yeah.
be better about that, I guess.
We went to the Joey Coleman event,
Yeah.
obviously,
Did
and
you read that book?
I didn't read the book. I read one of the books he recommended, which was They Ask You Answer. It's by Marcus Sheridan. So good.
Oh,
And it's basically taking your way of thinking of your service and putting it out there more on social media and asking like all the questions your clients constantly ask you. Like it's the same questions. If you really write down, it's like the top 25 questions they ask all the time. Why aren't you addressing that on your website? Why aren't you doing these questions out there and being honest and putting it on your website? Because that's why people are going to go to you.
yeah.
And it was really just like basic common sense stuff.
Mhm.
And I told obviously poor Megan, I was like, so we're gonna do some changes to the website. And she just gives me those eyes like, oh dear God, what are you reading now? And but I really loved it. And I feel like it's very simplistic, but the idea is being honest, trustworthy, and just, having people, it's the same questions you get asked as it is. So
Mhm.
why not have a spot on your website where it's already answered? And
Yeah.
then they're going to come to you and
FAQs.
make it easy. They're going to basically know a lot about you. So half of that is already done.
Right.
And, they're going to do more business and business will be better because they know what to expect already. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
big
Awesome.
difference. But that was a good one. I had the customer too, and Joey wrote, but I haven't read that one yet. But I'm finishing up this one right now, so that's
Yeah,
pretty
I have
cool.
a stack. Oh, you know what else I want to read? Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm in the industry. I really need to read, and I should take this on the trip. Unreasonable Hospitality.
Oh, I'm on that too. That's phenomenal. That's in
Yeah,
my
I need to
Audible.
read
I
this.
think I have like 10 on Audible right now, which is like a little ridiculous, but depends what mood I'm in to listen to which one of them.
And you
So
and you really listen and pay attention on the Audible.
yeah, because
When
if
I'm
I
driving, I get
drive,
like distracted. I'm like, la, and I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta rewind. I forget. I don't know. I didn't know what
oh,
the guy just said.
well, I'm driving, I listen to all the pieces. Yeah. So sadly, like I know what exit I was, what chapter, which is really pretty bad. But
That's good.
I'm like, but I help. I'm an audible person, like, and I know very visual. So, reading all the books in high school was not my forte, and my
Yeah,
grades showed that. So I wish I had Audible back then. It would have been so much easier in my life, but that's okay.
I know.
Um, crazy stuff. So let's go advices for entrepreneurs and out there, obviously the grit side of the house and all and things you had learned along the way, but it's a struggle out there. And a lot of people are starting, and we probably have people probably within the top 5 years of an entrepreneurship that listen to the show. What
Great.
else did you say in regards to finding resources, finding connections to help them grow, especially around the marketing and sales right now, because that's a big hot topic. Sales aren't coming in, that the phone isn't ringing like it used to. You have to work really 4 times as hard to get a sale. What's
Mhm.
working for you?
Our reputation, 10 years in the business,
Mm,
our SEO, our just we have strong legs
yeah,
as for so long.
but you
Um,
built that. Didn't come overnight.
Good reviews, good
Hmm.
experience from clients, word of mouth. But, just because I have that in one state doesn't mean I have that in another state. So I'm constantly feeling like I'm starting over a lot of
Yeah.
times. And I try to remind myself, all right, what worked 10 years ago? What are some grassroots things we did? But I think our technology, even though sometimes it's a struggle, but having that helps compared to some other of our competitors.
So I think it sounds like you need a 10-year anniversary party since you
Yeah,
are the party host helpers.
I know.
So I think that should be coming up in the works this year. Just saying, just an idea.
I
Um,
know, but it's hard when you're across the country with all these people.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It totally is. I totally get it. And tell people about, it's one of the best things I did was utilize some of your people for the evening of Thanksgiving. I host usually about 20 some people, and my back was always killing me by night end because I had to do all the cleanup, and my husband, like, that was a family affair, but still I was pooped until basically you're like, just have a person come and help you. I said, genius. And so I started calling, and now I do that every year. And what do people use your services primarily for? Not the events by Renee, but this is truly party host helpers.
Yeah, servers, bartenders, general helpers. I mean, if you like to entertain at your home, you know that you could use an extra set of hands. You're
Yeah.
the shopping, the cooking, the setup, and then our team comes in and just makes sure that it's flawless for you and that you can actually enjoy your party and that they're cleaning up afterwards and making sure that everything's great. And then bartenders, bars are
Yeah.
messy if you do self-serve, and maybe your husband or you don't want to be behind the bar all night. So having a bartender there helps manage bottles that shouldn't have been opened, that you could take
Yeah.
back later, and making sure there's enough ice and that cocktails are being made that they're professionals. They can do this better than you. So
Yeah, it's really awesome that the services that you offer. I've used your bartenders, I've used your party host helpers for graduation parties and obviously for Thanksgiving and just small events here and there, which has been so helpful. We also had our Crockpot International Luncheon this year
yeah,
where we brought in, it was always our own people. Then I said, let's invite our clients and all, within like 5 days, I started inviting everybody over. And I said to Megan, I said, what we're going to do next year? We're going to hire party host helpers
yeah.
to
I bet it was a
basically,
lot of cleanup.
it was, it wasn't too bad,
Oh, 'cause people
but
take their crock-pots with them. That's good.
yeah, it wasn't too bad. We had a lot of people show up.
Hmm.
And so I was hoping, I'd have like maybe like, food stations and things like that with the crock pots, but sure did smell good. That's for sure. We
Fun.
also had a bartender. Well, we had I said a lounge. And I know, remember Ash, who's listening, was like, should I brought an Uber to work today? And, but we do have a lot of fun, but
You have a lot
clients
of good events.
clients like to have that, they like to be real and have a real conversation. You just have to make sure they don't go stumbling outside your office.
Yeah,
So all good stuff. All right, cool. Well, listen, thank you.
you're
Thanks for sharing
welcome.
your wisdom. Congratulations on
Sure.
your success. I'm so thrilled for you. I
And
love
10
the
years in,
fact,
I'm still learning. So,
yeah, but
and
we
that's the
always
thing, you're
are.
always a student and you'll just continue learning as you go on an entrepreneurial journey.
Every day, I'm always looking for a golden nugget.
Mhm.
If one golden nugget, it made my day, that's for sure. But for today, it was having you on the show. So thank you for taking the time here. How do people get a hold of you?
Sure. So partyhosthelpers.com. You can find out what kind of services we offer. You can get a free quote. Eventsbyrenee.net is my event planning company. I'm on LinkedIn, Renee Rhinehart. Find me. I try to be more active. I'm trying to be more active on there like you, Marcia, but it's a lot.
Well, I have this amazing marketing team that helps me
Yeah.
look like I'm all over the place, and I'm really not,
Right.
but it makes me look like I am. So it works
You
really
are,
well.
you are.
Well, I don't know this year. Like I said, the word is intentional this year, so we're going to
I
see
like
about
it.
that.
I
Thank
like
you for
it.
being on the show. I appreciate that. And out there, everybody, listen, yeah, entrepreneurship is hard. It's not easy. We are here to help you. We are here to share the secrets of success to basically making it bud and blossom for you. So feel free to always reach out to us here at Top 3 at the O'Connor Group, info at tocgrp.com. And in the meantime, don't let fear control you. You control it. And on that note, I'll let you guys go and stay well, stay healthy out there, and keep being nice to people. All right. Take care, guys. Bye bye.